Boom, we're on air. What is going on, guys? My name is Bailey Strand. This is the first StrandCast in the series. Today, I got a special guest. He's a TED Talk speaker, co-founder, WO-TA-BU. I'm excited to announce my boy. What is going on, P?
What up, Bailey? It's a pleasure to be here, my friend. Thank you for having me on this podcast today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm fired up. We got lots to talk about. So before we dive into anything, give people a brief introduction of who you are and basic info on what you do.
Definitely. I'm excited to be here, actually. My name is Periklis. You can call me P for those that have trouble pronouncing my name. It happens quite a lot. I'm just a normal kid. I'm 21 years old. I'm living in Luxembourg, Central Europe, as a real estate agent. I like to call myself, as one of my mentors says, just a normal kid with above normal desire, right? So currently I'm working as a real estate agent. I worked on a couple of businesses the past years, failed a lot, learned a lot, and I'm just a dreamer who's trying to do the best he can and give change as much as he can on this world and live the best life possible.
Man, I think that's where we connect so much. I'm the exact same way. Young people trying to make something for themselves, and not just about money, but bringing as much value as you can. I love it. All right. So first question on the list is, so tell me how you got started in entrepreneurship. And because, there's so many people that are getting started in their entrepreneurial adventures, especially at a young age. We're going to have an audience from like 12 years old to 7 years old, but it's just getting started. So what's your best advice for people to get started, and how did you get started?
Very good question. So the way I got started, it was actually a funny story. It was 2.5 years ago, actually no, that's a lie, 18 months ago. That's when I officially got started. I was in a room with 100 young people, and there was this very successful person presenting us this business and how we could have the opportunity to start our own business on our own terms. And I remember he said something at the end of the event which kind of hit me. He said, there's 3 types of people in this world. Number 1, people who watch things happen. Number 2, people who make things happen. And number 3, people who go, what the hell just happened? And he finished with, if you're one of the people that makes things happen, I'm the one. So the moment the event finished, I immediately stood up. I had no idea what he was talking about. I saw this and that. It was in another language, actually. It was in Luxembourgish. I don't speak Luxembourgish. I'm Greek, but I did get that part in English. And I walked up to him and I was like, I have no idea what this is. I was feeling, these butterflies in me. I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what I have to do. But so whatever this is, let's just do it. It was very simple to me. I always try to listen to people who have what I want. And he was 25. He was a millionaire, a multimillionaire. And I was like, if he tells me that he knows a way, who am I to judge? I'm with you. He was the best person I ever met in my life. So if he tells me this is something, if he told me this was it, this was it. So the biggest advice I'd give people would be to look for someone who's on a higher level than you, not necessarily higher level, but someone who you see yourself being like. Add as much value as you can to him, and when the time comes, jump off the cliff and build the wings on the way.
Man, I love it. That's such great advice. And I think that's one thing that people misunderstand is just the fact that, like, when you get started in anything, to do it on your own is like, it's not impossible, but it takes you a lot longer to get started rather than when you have that mentor to really show you the ropes. And then exactly what you said, when you provide as much value as you can to them, they're more willing to work with you and more willing to help you grow. I think that's amazing. So yeah, I think that's the best advice you can probably give to anyone. There's so many people that are just all, money focused or they just want to create lifestyle change, which is great. And that comes along with it. But right now you got to learn to provide value to people and give people a reason to give you money. So I think that's probably the best advice you can give to anyone. So at the beginning of your entrepreneurial adventure, were you successful at the beginning? And like, when did you start to notice the result? Because that's one thing that a lot of people, like, there's so many YouTube mentors nowadays that can tell you that in 1 month you can make $10,000 a month and completely change your life. So when did you really start to take entrepreneurship seriously, and when did you really start to notice those results?
You got it. Great question. To be honest, I don't consider myself successful. At least if you measure it in economic terms, I'm well off successful. So I let's just say that I've been on this journey for now what, 18 months, and I'm still not successful, right? So it's a long journey. I guess I started seeing some results. I think it was 3 months in. That's when I kind of saw my first kind of like small recognition from the people that I was working with. But when I started, it was just like over and over and over and over and over again. Like people told me no, no, no. I remember vividly. So I was at this event, and 2 days after, we had another event, like a training event, and I was there with Alex Morton, and my dad came to pick me up, and he drove me. And in the car, he told me, what was it? What do you do? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I kind of explained what it was, and he told me, well, son, you'll never be a good salesman. You'll never make it. I remember it vividly. And he was like, okay, pretty brutal. And then I went home, and my mom started crying. And she told me, if I see any products at your house, I'm going to kick you out. This is not possible, et cetera. And she started crying. Horrible. And then I talked to all my friends, and they all said, what are you doing? This is not possible. This is not something that's going to work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of brutal rejection, but I had no plan B. I had just dropped out of university. I was living at home with mom, and I didn't really have a second option, right? It was either do it or die. And I think that's a big thing that helped me is I couldn't escape. So I was kind of stuck with it. I was like, shit, I have to do it now. And I'm glad that I had no plan B, because it made me stick with plan A. And plan A turned out pretty good. So it's been 18 months now since I've been on this journey. I'm still not successful. But what I realized in this process is that you eventually fall in love with the journey, and you don't so much focus on the destination, even though it's beautiful, and it's beautiful to make a lot of money, start your own company, change the world, all that kind of stuff. But I just love the process, and I couldn't have it any other way. I couldn't go back to the way I used to be, because I'm just in love with what I do every single day. And eventually I might take 1 more year, 2 more years, 3 more years, 5 more years. I don't know how much it'll take, but I know that it will come 100%. And when it comes, at least I'll be able to say, look, took me a while, don't worry, stick with it. You're going to see success.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think that's another thing that everyone defines success in different ways. And, the fact that your definition of success is not so much economic wise, but getting to the next level. That's my definition of success. Success, economic, money comes along when you provide as much value as you can. Like, I like the word value just because, the more you offer people, the more people trust you and look up to you and see you. I think that's success, right? And the fact that you were able to, go from being brutally rejected by your parents and your friends to now proving them wrong. And that's another thing that was funny that you mentioned you're a university dropout. I didn't know that, because I'm actually a college dropout. So I thought that was.
I think a lot of people on the entrepreneur journey tend to drop out. I've noticed that.
Oh man, I don't recommend dropping.
I don't recommend it though. I don't recommend it. Stick with it.
Yeah, I don't recommend it at all. But was it a big, is it something I'm going to regret in the next few years? Probably not. Just because entrepreneurship is something that you have to go through the journey. And it's like you said, like if you're not falling in love with the journey of entrepreneurship and you're not willing to fail every single day, then you're not a real entrepreneur. You're just someone that just wants to make money. And everyone wants to make money, but an entrepreneur is not so much about the money, but creating opportunity. And I think that's something that, like you just mentioned, that was phenomenal, is that it's more important right now to learn. I mean, you're 21, I'm 20. To think that we're going to be millionaires overnight is not realistic. You need to grow as much as we can as people. And I think that entrepreneurship is teaching us that, by you getting to the next level every single day, that's success. Like, I think that's real success, because it's like we were talking about before we even got on this podcast. We were talking about the compound effect, about like the more failures you have, the more it's going to lead you to success. Right. Exactly. And by you growing every single day and just making like the right decision, it'll ultimately turn you into a more successful person. So I thought that was just amazing. So next question is
exactly.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it actually states is that the compound effect, the author, he says there's 2 bars, right? There's the income bar and the personal development bar. Most people try to push the income as high as possible, make money. And sometimes it works, right? Very often you see people who may not have as high of a personal development make this amount of money, and the personal development or the growth is here, right? But in the long term, it always bounces that back down every single time, every single time. It will always get back to you. So what I realized in the beginning, I focused on the same thing. Eventually did it work. 1 year in, I realized, well, what if I just push this up? And my personal development started growing, and it was more fun. And I eventually this started raising, and I just know it because it's a matter. It's a science. When money goes up, when personal development goes up, money just always follows.
Wow, that's amazing. That's actually a really good point. I think that's so true. And the more you learn, it's like what Warren Buffett says: the more you learn, the more you earn.
The more
That's
you're,
amazing.
you got it.
So, who is the person that really inspired you on your entrepreneurial adventure to really grow as much as you can? Like, who is that person that gave you that push to be like, you know what, you can do this, man. I believe in you. While everyone else is like, you know, it's not going to work. Get a real job, blah, blah, blah. Inspired you to create a dominant force in the entrepreneurial world?
Good question. There have been a lot of people. There have been a lot of people throughout the last years that have been in my life and have been pushing me. The first one showed up at the age of 19, so 2 years ago. And that was the first man that I happened to work for in a traditional company, a marketing company. And he was a very successful person financially. He was organizing big events in like the film festival in Cannes, Champions League, in the big Roland Garros, like big things. And he was a dropout, and he was a multi-millionaire. I don't know what he was, but he believed in me, right? And he wanted to work with me. He wanted to hire me as a person, as an employee in his company. Small job, but still hire me.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember he drove me home from Brussels to Luxembourg, and I still hadn't dropped out. That was before I dropped out, before I started the entrepreneur journey. And as he drove me home to Luxembourg, and I had already told everyone around me, you know, I might drop out of university, and I was in a good university. I might drop out. I might do something different. I might follow this guy who's a millionaire. And my girlfriend, my grandfather, my grandmother, my mom, sister, aunt, cousin, best friends, everyone said, no, you can't do that. That's impossible. It's the best university. Stick with it. Blah, 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 blah. And I remember vividly, he left me at my home. And before I opened the door and I went to my house, I asked him exactly this. If you were in my shoes, what advice would you give me? And he responded, I would give you the advice of don't take advice from anyone. And I said, thank you, closed the door, went home. And then I think after 2-3 days or something, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. And I moved to Brussels. And everybody called me crazy, but it was the best decision I had. So this man inspired me. He raised my belief to what was possible. And then after him, there were several other people, but he was the turning point in my life. He was the first turning point in my life.
Wow.
As a physical mentor.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
actually,
great
that
man.
point that you mentioned of don't take advice from everyone. I was actually just watching a Ty Lopez video mention the exact same thing, is that everyone's going to give you their 2 cents. And I think don't take advice from everyone personally and take action, but listen to what everyone has to say, because then you can determine what's right and wrong. I think that's a really good point, just because, you know, when your parents are not on the same adventure as you, when your friends are not on the same adventure as you, and there are people that you're trying to be like and ultimately end up like, that are giving you that kind of advice, those are the people you want to listen to. I think it's useless to listen to every single person. Yeah, I think that's an amazing point.
Exactly. Listen to people who have what you want. That's major key. So if you want to be a millionaire, listen to millionaires. If you want to be a great dad, listen to a great dad. If you want to love a lot, listen to a person who loves a lot. And Lincoln has actually a great quote that I heard the other day. He said, everyone gives me advice, but it seems most people tell me what not to do.
It's true. It is true. Your parents will always tell you like, oh man, I'm doing it for the best for you. Don't do this because this is what I did and it didn't work out. And just because they were on a certain level doesn't mean that that's where you're going to end up. There's success is a very lonely journey, and there's a lot of dead corpse on the road to success. But you know what? The people that ultimately make it are the people you want to listen to, man. Like it's the truest thing. I used to have a neighbor who was like just like my parents, working a 9-to-5 job, and he decided to take his entrepreneurial adventure very seriously. And now he's a multimillionaire living in Texas and just has this phenomenal company out there. And you know, I've been listening to my parents for so long, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm trying to do this, and they gave me the best advice they can, but they didn't have what I wanted. Like I want way more out of life. Not to say that they raised me the best way. Like they raised me to be the man I am today, but to be someone on another level, I had to listen to someone else. So I listened to him, and he said the exact same thing. Don't listen to everyone. Listen to your heart. Listen to what you think is right. and when the time comes, like, you're going to be living the lifestyle that you want, but it just takes time. So yeah, like,
Definitely, man.
not listening to every single person, you know, listen to what they have to say, but not taking it to heart every single time is the best approach. I think that was raised amazing. So one thing that people don't know about this guy, he is actually the co-founder of WO-TA-BU. So can you tell us a bit more about what WO-TA-BU is and how you came about the idea?
Definitely, for sure. So WO-TA-BU stands for Worth Talking About. It wasn't originally my idea, so I was introduced to it at the very foundational stage of it. That's why I had the chance to become a co-founder, but I did not come up with it. So yeah, I became the co-founder officially in November when the sales reached the target market, but I was mainly responsible for the European market. So we launched Europe, and it's very simply put, it's a company that does sales, right? And their job is to recruit people and to recruit customers into the best way and actually give them value. And the way they do that too is through actually creating events and experiences and traveling and giving them the lifestyle that they want to live. But the most beautiful part about it is the fact that you get so many young people into the same area, into the same environment. And something happens when you put a lot of people who have a bigger desire in the same room, and stuff starts changing in your program. And that's kind of the goal of the company. The goal of the company is what? We believe that there's so many of us that are just so unhappy in this world, and we just want to give people the chance to live a life worth talking about. We want to open the door. Here it is. Walk in. It's possible. And that's kind of the main mission of the movement that we have created.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. I love that idea, just connecting as many like-minded individuals as you can, because a lot of people, especially when you live in a small town or when you live in an environment where everyone thinks the same, it's really hard to find people that are like-minded. And I think that's just an amazing opportunity. I think people should check that out, just because whenever you have that crazy desire, it's like us, especially when you connect with people either through social media or through a program like this, I think that's just amazing because it inspires you, because a lot of people quit because they can't find someone to motivate them. And when you have a team that is putting it all together with you, and when you have
it's so much easier.
It's so much easier, man. And it's so hard to stay motivated when everyone's telling you no, right? But it just takes that one person or that one group of people that you hang out with to like, hey, we can do this. Let's grow it together. I think that's just amazing. I think more people should check that out.
Definitely.
Check out WO-TA-BU and see what kind of value can provide to you. So next question,
For
and
sure.
I thought this is what I really want to dive into. How did you get on a TEDx talk? That is amazing. How did that opportunity come? Because I've been listening to TEDx talks since I was like 16, and that's something that me and my dad connect with a lot. It's just like we watch that and we're like, hey, watch this video. It's really cool. So when I saw that you're a public speaker that did a TEDx talk, I was like, holy, I got to interview this guy. So tell me how that came about, and I want to hear more about it.
For sure, man. It's actually I actually started watching TED Talks when I was, I think, 16, 17. It was the first form of kind of brain rewiring that I discovered, right? All these different topics, different things. Like, wow, okay, there's knowledge can be fun, right? Like knowledge can be interesting. So I started watching at 17, and I remember thinking to myself, that was before I had barely read any books, before I had any belief. It was like, wow, I hope one day I might do one, that's kind of what I thought. And it's funny how after 4 years, I was blessed actually, and I was lucky to have the opportunity to do that. So we were working with WO-TA-BU in the English market in close to London. And we had a big event there with quite a lot of people. And then I was invited to speak on a business event, a mastermind event. Quest, by the way. And they invited me to speak. They had a lot of different speakers, and they just wanted to share general knowledge, general business tips, general success tips. And I spoke on that stage. And when I finished, some people came up to me. They were like, love your talk, etc., etc. And this woman comes up to me. She was like, I love your talk. Would you like to speak at my event? I was like, sure. What is it? She's like, well, it's a TEDx. I'm the president of TEDx Surrey University. Our topic is over the edge. I think I was wearing a pink suit, so I think she said your pink suit kind of matches over the edge. Would you like to speak? And I said, well, I'm very busy these days. Let me kind of check with my secretary. I'll get back to you in a
my.
few weeks. Once I'm just kidding. And I was like, yeah, definitely, I'm gonna speak to you today. Are you joking with me? So she, we sealed the deal, and 2 months after, I was back in Sarek giving a talk that probably was one of the most gratifying moments, most grateful moments of my life, because it was something that I dreamt of when I was 17, and having it manifest after 4 years made me very happy with, it was kind of like the first small, like, you know, when you feel that first success, like the first, like, oh, I did it. And that was kind of like, because I remember I finished the talk, and then I spent, I think, just the moment the talk finished, I laid down on a box, because I went backstage. I had like a box, like a big long box. I lay down and I put this song that helps me visualize, and I just lay down, listened to it twice, and I was like, oh my god. And I was very blessed to have the opportunity to do that.
Wow, oh my god, I couldn't even imagine being on stage and providing as much value as you can to people, especially with your knowledge and at such a young age when you're doing that. Wow, I think that's and yeah, oh my god, I can't even, like, I couldn't even imagine being on stage and talking about what your knowledge and providing it to as many people, especially on such a big audience like TEDx. I think that's amazing. So dive in more into what you were talking about. So the title of it was "Be an Oven, Not a Microwave." So how did you come about that title? And dive into it a bit more, because I think a lot of people, actually, I'm going to put a link below that will send you to the TEDx talk. But I talk about it a bit more and how you came about that topic, because I thought it was really interesting.
Cool, of course. So it took me a while to come up with the title. I think it took me, so the moment I got announced at the TEDx, I started working on it immediately, right? Because I was like, this is the big thing, I gotta work on it. But it's funny, because I think I prepared 6 different speeches, because at the beginning I was like, success, but no, I'm not successful. And I chose something else, and then something else, and then something else. And I couldn't really find, because I chose all these topics, but they didn't feel like personal. It was just, you know, something I read or a lot of programming, but I felt that I wanted to share something that changed me, so that I know that if I speak it, it will work for you because it worked for me. Mm-hmm. And we have this big group with the people that we work with, like 40, 50, 60 people, entrepreneurs. And I had this big whiteboard with like 15 different titles or 13 different titles. And like all of them were like different titles, different topics. And I put them in, and everybody was like different titles. No. And I couldn't really figure something that just clicked. And then one day I just wake up, and I think it just hit me. Boop, be an oven, not a microwave. It just brutally hit me. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how, but I think it was just like an epiphany from like, I woke up and it just hit me. And the reason I chose this title was because, well, actually I did a lot of thinking. So it wasn't just, it wasn't that it just hit me from God out of nowhere. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. So I was very focused I need a title, I need a topic, I need a title, I need a topic, I need a title. So I put a lot of thinking into it. So a lot of work. And eventually, when you do something a lot, it just comes to you, right? So I just started to think a book, and then it just came to me. So the reason I chose that is because for the last 4 years, I kept wanting to have a better life. I kept wanting to achieve goals. I kept wanting to become better, get to the next level. But I always saw myself getting motivated, starting, and going down. Motivated, starting, and failing. Motivated, starting, quitting over and over and over. So I would set these big goals, and I would quit. Set these big goals. I would last 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month, but I would always quit every single time. And 4 years, and I was getting frustrated and beating myself up, and oh my God, you suck, and you can't do that, and talk myself names and talk myself out of everything. And January 1st came this year, and I finally, for the first time, started achieving some goals that I had. And I was like, wow, what happened? And I realized that I had to change my programming. I had to change the way I was going about this goal. So the biggest mistake that I was doing, I wanted things too fast. I wanted to see the change too fast in me. I wanted, because I saw the successful people around me and I saw what they were doing. I was like, I'm going to do the same. They do 20 presentations, I'm going to do 20 presentations. But I was not ready for it, because you can't go from 0 to 100 in a day. You go slowly. You go from 0 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50. So to kind of simplify the things, I'll give an example. I've been wanting to work out since I was 17, right? I've never been to the gym more than a month consistently, ever. I would always quit. So January 1 came. December 31st at like 10:30 p.m. I finished my goals. I had 6 whiteboards, and it was like spiritual, mental, physical, business, physical, relationship, social. And I had like, okay, where do I want to be at the end of this year. This is where I want to be. Okay, cool. Where am I? This is where I am. Okay. Okay, what do I need to do? And I set up like a roadmap. And I was like, okay, what's the most important thing to me? And working out happened to be the thing. And I was like, okay, I want to be very fit, healthy, etc., etc. So what my old self would do is January 1 would come, he would get motivated, fired up, jacked out of his brain, buy the best gym membership, buy the best stuff, go to the gym for 2 hours, next day 2 hours, next day 2 hours. And after 2 weeks, I'm no longer there because I'm like, I wake up one day, I'm like, I don't feel like it. And I stopped going altogether. What I did for the first time was I only did push-ups. So January 1 came, I did push-ups once, twice, 3 times. And my friends would come, yeah, let's go to the gym, lift, see who gets more. No, just push-ups, push-ups. And after 21 days, push-ups, 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 push-ups. And then I added push-ups and pull-ups. So push-ups, pull-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, like 15 minutes workout, you know? And I kept that up for like a month and a half. And the reason I chose to go very slow about it instead of going to the gym, because I wanted to establish the working out habit in my brain before I made it hard for myself. So I had to protect myself from myself. So I knew that I was a person that was based on emotions, and I get fired up. I set a big goal and I set a big action plan, and I go full force. And eventually my motivation runs out. And the moment the motivation runs out, I quit. So I was like, okay, how can I do something that does not rely on motivation? To establish the habit of working out simply, push-ups, 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 and eventually weights. And after 2 months, I started going to the gym. And when I went to the gym, I went for 30 to 45 minutes because I knew that if I went for 2 hours, I would quit because I would have to use my motivation. Motivation does not work. And now eventually I'm going to the gym 3 times a week for like an hour. It sounds crazy, but it's way better than it used to be before, which was basically nothing. So the whole speech evolves around understanding that we've been programmed in a certain way for many years of our lives. So for 20 years, I was not working out. I've been programmed as a person who does not work out. So if you ask me before, do you work out? No, I don't. That was my belief. So before I go about becoming fit, about changing my belief. So if people ask me, do you work out during the push-ups? Yes, I do. I do push-ups. But the belief that I'm a working out person was there. And maybe it wasn't big, but the belief started changing. And there was a tipping point when the habit is established within you and you believe that you're a person that works out. And that's when you raise the intensity, because before we focus on the intensity of the new action that we have, we must establish the frequency so that it becomes a part of who we are. So before we go and do or 200 phone calls, it's better to start with 5 or 3 or 2 or 1, depends on what you can hold, and get into the habit of doing it for 21 days minimum, and then start raising the intensity. And that's when the magic will start manifesting. And for the first time ever, I saw change. I was like, wow, I'm growing. And that was like the biggest thing. And I think it's because young people were so focused on now. And it's normal because in a world that's changing faster than ever, it's normal that we want the same. And it's crucial, I think, that we start understanding that we're going to live here for the next, hopefully, 80 years, right? It's better to have slow progress than no progress. So as long as we go about it the right way, change will always come.
Wow, that's amazing. I think
that makes it more fun as well.
Oh yeah. I think that's that was a wow. That's a lot to take in. But yeah, I 100% agree. And that was one thing that I went wrong with, is just, you know, when you have these big desires, big dreams, you can often catch yourself being like, okay, that's all you're doing is you're just imagining it, rather than, okay, I just got to get started, right? It's the same with anything in life. And that fitness point was the exact same thing that I went through. When I started working out when I was 14, this guy that taught me how to work out, like, it really inspired me because he went through this big transformation. I was like, if he can do it, I can certainly do it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start off working out 2 hours a day, do it every single day. I'm going to put on all this muscle. And it did not work. So and the push-ups, that's so funny. So much, it's crazy how much we have in common, because that's one thing my dad taught me was, you know, when you're going to start doing anything, learn how to be consistent, do push-ups. And so I started doing push-ups once a day. And then when I started doing once a day, I did it twice a day. I think that was such an amazing point. And that's it. It's frequency over everything, right? You can't just assume that you're going to make a bunch of money, or you're going to get into great shape, or you're going to have more confidence in any aspect of your life. You got to really hone in on the fact that you just got to get started, right? And if it starts off by doing 1 hour of 15-minute workout, or if it starts off, or if you want to improve your social life by talking to one person that you're attracted to every single day, or doing something of the sorts, I think that's like the best advice you can give anyone. It's just slow and consistent. So yeah, I thought that's an amazing point, because it's something that hits home to me, and I'm sure it's going to be something that hits home to so many people. It's just being free, and it's even with your real estate. I want to get into your real estate in a little bit, because
For sure.
you're talking about rejection a lot. And so I think that's one thing that a lot of people have a hard time doing, is with failure. So how do you cope with failure, and how do you cope with rejection in order to grow yourself as a person? Because I think that's one thing that a lot of people that have a hard time dealing with, is that whenever you want something, it takes a lot of failure before you become successful at anything in life. And people would just want it now, especially with our, like, millennials. They want everything now. They want a lot of money now. They want to have the lifestyle now. They want to have the body now. So what's your advice to people to cope with rejection and to cope with failure?
Definitely. Two pieces of advice. So number one, it goes back to the previous point we discussed. Protect yourself from yourself, right? Most people hate rejection. So the way I do it, that works for me, is I make sure that I don't get too much of it, that it completely demotivates me and I do nothing. I quit. But I get enough to grow, but not too. I get enough rejections, so I make sure I grow, but not too much, so I stop completely. So, like, give you an example. So when I started door to door, when I started real estate, sorry, I decided to go door to door, right? And I said I could have gone 200 doors a day, 300 doors a day. We can do so much, right? But I only choose to do 10 doors a day. I've already been doing different things. That's why I went to 10 contacts, right? So it probably takes me 25 doors. But if I went to like 20 a day, that could have been a bit too hard for me in the beginning. So I could have done it maybe 4 or 5 days, but I would have eventually quit. But with 10 doors a day, I could keep it up consistently, because it only took 40 minutes of my time every day. I finished work, I did my 10 doors, and I did not thinking about it not make me feel bad, because I'm like, oh, it's 10 doors, it'll take me 40 minutes, let's go do it. 20, it'll be a different story. So that's number one, protect yourself from yourself, slowly build up to the rejection. So start small, 10, 10, 10, build that ladder of rejection, and eventually you'll grow and grow and grow, and eventually you won't feel pain anymore from rejection. Actually, you always will, but your comfort zone will be so much bigger that you'll be able to take most rejections. That's number one. So slowly build up the rejections. Don't go too big too fast. And number two would be, that helped me at least, is that I started slowly. It wasn't like a boom epiphany, but I slowly started seeing rejections as a learning lesson instead of a bad thing that happened. And I realized that it's impossible to be successful without failure. It's impossible to make money, be a great leader, be a great company owner, unless you fail a lot. And the more you fail, the better you become, because the more failure you go through, the more successful at what you do. So I started seeing rejection as a good thing. So I'm happy when I get rejected. I'm happy because I learn more. And I know that if I don't get rejected, there's something wrong, because I didn't learn. We don't learn from successes, we learn from rejections. And a great friend, a mentor of mine, told me once that the yeses build your paycheck, but the no's build you. And you always brings more paychecks at the end of the day. So focus on building you, focus on rejections, and the money will always come. So seeing rejection as a necessity and as something that we should strive to get, because it makes us better, is major. Actually, I looked at every single successful person that I looked up to, every single one, they simply had outfailed everyone. Like I didn't find a single person that I look up to that didn't fail 10x than everyone else. And I was like, okay, well, they all failed, I should probably do the same.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that's it. Is that, like, I don't think people understand, is that in order to get good at anything, you got to know what you did wrong, right? And when you learn how to take rejection, when you learn to look at failure as a growing aspect rather than I'm not good at this, then you'll realize that, wow, like if you take that opportunity of like, okay, I went to the door, I got rejected. All right, what did I do wrong? You analyze what you did wrong. Okay, I'm not going to do that next time. because the thing is that sales is all emotion and learning how to connect with people. And when you learn that, okay, if I'm doing something wrong, all I got to do is tweak it. That's what failure. If you're doing everything right all the time, then you're never going to learn anything. You're never going to grow. So I think, yeah, that was a really good point of just, you know, the most successful people are the ones that fail the most. And those are the ones that you want to trust, because if they know what's wrong, if they know everything that's wrong, they'll teach you what's right. Right. Like, I think that was a really amazing point. So
exactly. And just to give a small,
yeah,
a small parenthesis over here, going into real estate, I'm pretty brand new into it, but I got my first appointment after 183 rejections. So 183 people told me no, 125 doors that opened and said no, and 50, I think it was 61 cold calls. So cold calls, people that were selling a house and by themselves, and I called them, I was like, sell with me. They were like, no. And then the 62nd said, interesting, let's meet. And I got my first appointment. And 2 rejections after, I got my second appointment. So it's funny how 182 rejections, 3 rejections of no, first yes comes, 2 more rejections, another yes comes. So I kept seeing these 183 rejections as a learning lesson that eventually I'm going to get better, more comfortable, and it's fun actually. You know, like, oh, I'm just getting rejected, I'm going to get better eventually. And then it always comes. It always comes. Every single time. If you keep getting rejected, it's humanly impossible to not see success. It's just impossible. Impossible.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. I love it. So my last question I'm going to ask you, for anyone wants to get started in every avenue, what's the number one way to see the vision ahead, but to keep yourself grounded now? Like, what's your piece of advice for anyone getting started in any aspect of their life, in anything? What's your number one advice of getting started?
Great question. Let's see. If I could go back and I was 18 years old, 17 years old, and I was just starting out and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, because when I was 18, I was clueless. I was like, I have no clue what I want to do, how I want to do it, where I want to do it. What I would do is I would sit down in my desk and I would just close my eyes and clear my brain out. So clear all my thoughts, right? So the best way I found to do that is reverse counting. So you go from 100, 99, 98, 97, and you focus on it. Because when it's reversed, you really have to focus on the numbers. And doing that allows you to clear your mind. And when your mind is clear, you start reaching a higher consciousness. And when I would reach that higher consciousness, I would start thinking about different things I want in my life. So I would think university, starting my own business in marketing, becoming a chef, becoming a doctor, becoming a great father, becoming a great brother, becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a magazine publisher, becoming a writer. I would think all these things and I would consciously put them in my brain. So I would think magazine writing, book, put it out. Business, book, put it out. And when I would have them in my consciousness, I would see how I felt. And the thing that made me feel the most bliss, the thing that made me feel the most blissfully good, that's what I would follow. So let's say teacher made me feel really good. Being a great father made me feel really good. Being in university, maybe not so good. Becoming a chef, not so good. Becoming a doctor, not so good. Becoming an engineer, not so good. Working with a man in Brussels in the event industry made me feel incredibly happy. I do that because we can't see what the future holds, but we can feel what the future holds. And your gut instinct is every single time more right than anyone else. You know best more than any mentor, any teacher, any book. Your gut feeling knows best. So the best way to listen to your gut feeling is, how do you feel? How good do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? The closer you are to 10, that's the thing that I would do. And most importantly of all, as my greatest mentor said, don't take advice from anyone.
It's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, it was a pleasure having you on the show. I think that anyone listening to this will get as much value as they can, just because when you realize that I think the best people to listen to are the people that are on the same journey as you and they're a little bit ahead of you. I think those are the greatest people to listen to. I mean, it's obviously you want those mentors that are on a crazy different level, but to share the journey with people and to learn, like, you know, if you're one step behind them and they can teach you, like, okay, this is what I did, this is how I can get started. I think that's one way everyone can connect. So it was honestly a pleasure having you on the show. How can people find you? Give your links to your social media. If you have a website, tell everyone.
Definitely. So you can find me by my very small name and very easy to type, Periklis Ikonomidis, on every social media, almost every social media platform. Feel free to reach out, connect. I'm here to help in any way I can, and I'll be very happy to see someone who made a change because of this webinar. And I want to thank you, of course, for everything you're doing. It's not often that you see young people not only trying to do something out of their lives, but actually trying to do something for other people's lives. And that doesn't happen often. And the mindset that you have, the serving attitude, is not often in our generation. So I want to thank you. Thank you for being on the same mission as I am. Thank you for helping me achieve my mission. And I'm sure that if eventually we bring all the millennials together, there's not a single doubt that we will take the world and flip it upside down and create a new universe, a new world for what we have. And last thing before we go, what is the one advice that you would give people on this podcast? The one advice. If you never saw them again, Bailey, what is the one thing that you would advise them?
The one piece of advice I'd give to anyone is realizing, and Gary Vee quotes is the best, that you're going to die, and that, you know, everything that you want, just get started. It doesn't matter if whatever position you are, it doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter where you start at, just get started and realize is that your dreams are more important to you and that are going to grow you more as a person than anything else. So, and realizing that, you know, if you look at backwards, is that one day you're going to die and none of this is going to even matter. But you know what? Why not create a legacy for yourself and create as much value as you can to people now while you're on this earth, and stop taking these baby risks and make large risks that will have either, like, you know, you either learn from it or you're going to have a large reward at the end of the day. So I think just get started and don't be afraid of anything. And, you know, everyone's scared, but you know what? If you try, that's more important than anything else. And realize is that, you know, one day you're never going to have this opportunity again. So just take every day, appreciate it, and grow as much as you can and connect with as many people as you can. I think it's unbelievable to find people in your life that are on the same mission as you. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice. Is not advice. I think just live a life worth living, you know, and talk to as many people as you can and learn from as many people as you can. So I didn't expect that last thing, but yeah, I love it. So yeah, honestly, we're definitely going to connect more. We're definitely going to do a collab of some sort. Maybe I'll fly out to Luxembourg and we'll do a one-on-one podcast together. I think that'd be unbelievable.
You have to. We're gonna die one day soon, right? So better come to Luxembourg.
I bet I'm gonna come to Luxembourg. Maybe this summer. Actually, you know what? Maybe this summer we're gonna plan a trip. I'll plan a trip out there. I haven't really been to too many countries, so I'd love to go there. All right. Thanks everyone for watching. This is the first podcast of the StrandCast. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I'll put all the links below. Go on my SoundCloud to listen to this. This is gonna be on YouTube too. And I hope you guys have a blessed day. And remember, grind silent, live loud. All right, man. It was a pleasure having you on the show, man.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, and have a phenomenal day, and go build your dreams.
All right. We're out.